Traditionally, the way we've been teaching anatomy and physiology in class hasn't really changed that much over the last few decades. Using heavy text, information is quite intensive, it's quite concentrated, hard to follow often with what's on the screen, with what the teacher is speaking about at the same time. So can create confusion, and also it's not very conducive to learning or to engaging students. The three basic learning types have been identified as the visual learners, auditory learners, and kinesthetic learners. 65% visual, 30% auditory, and 5% kinesthetic. So with this kind of system, we're really just getting the 30%. But what about the 65%? We're not really gearing it towards them. So what I'm suggesting is we'll use more animation graphics to tell our story in an interesting, compelling, and engaging and fun way. And as an example of this, I'm going to show you how we can do the renal aldosterone system. The reason I've chosen this one is because it causes the most confusion, it's hard to follow, and you think, how does it relate to patients? So we'll start here. Here we have the kidneys. So kidneys are fed by the aortic blood flow, and when it is normal, kidneys are both happy. However, if that blood flow is reduced for any reason, and it could be several reasons, kidneys aren't so happy. So what happens when this is the GFR, or glomerular filtration rate, and this gets reduced. So what do the kidneys do? They basically decide we need to increase the blood flow. And how do they do this? They increase the blood pressure. And this is where the renal aldosterone system comes into play. And even if the blood pressure is already high, kidneys don't care about that. All they worry about is raising that glomerular filtration rate. So basically, renin goes to the liver where it stimulates production of angiotensin. Now, angiotensin is not active either. Angiotensin then becomes angiotensin 1. These chemicals are not that active, but angiotensin 1, when it gets to the lungs, becomes angiotensin 2 by reacting with angiotensin converting enzyme. Now remember this ACE, we're going to talk about that later. So angiotensin 2 is a very active chemical. It can increase the blood pressure in two distinct ways. The first way is in the arteries. The arteries here are lined with what's called angiotensin receptors. Now, when these get stimulated by angiotensin 2, they cause something called vasoconstriction. Vasoconstriction is very important in blood pressure because once the artery goes from this wide to this, which is much narrow lumen, the blood moves faster through narrow arteries. Basically, the heart has to pump harder and faster to get the same amount of blood through that narrowed artery. Angiotensin 2 also stimulates the production of a hormone called aldosterone. Aldosterone is a hormone that increases sodium in the blood. The net effect of sodium in the blood is a salt. It attracts water to itself. So water gets drawn into the bloodstream from the surrounding tissues. And the blood volume in the arteries, in this case, because of this increased volume of water in it, the volume then increases. So the net effect of the blood moving faster and the increased volume here is an increase in blood pressure. So the effect of this on the glomerular filtration rate is that blood flow is actually increased, which then in turn increases the GFR, and the kidneys are happy. So this essentially is the renal aldosterone system. Now, why is this important? Well, we now can understand the kidney's role in regulating blood pressure. We see people with kidney issues and understand why they can have unstable blood pressure. And also it teaches us how and where blood pressure medications work in this system. Now the first one, do you remember that name we said? It was ACE, for angiotensin converting enzyme. So what we give are called ACE inhibitors. These are medications that block angiotensin converting enzyme to stop it converting angiotensin 1 to 2. So if there's a reduction in the production of angiotensin 2, then there's a reduction in these receptors being stimulated and also production of aldosterone. ACE inhibitors always end in the word pril. For example, captopril and perindopril. The other type of medication we use in this to help control blood pressure is angiotensin receptor blockers, or ARBs. So these ARBs, what they do is they block these angiotensin receptors. So if these receptors then get blocked, vasoconstriction cannot happen. Examples of ARBs are irbesartan and candesartan that have the same ending as the artan. Now, what are the benefits of some of these whiteboard animations? Well, here's a few. You get a higher level of audience engagement, a higher level of retention of knowledge, and easily accessible on all mobiles. Students can replay as much as needed, you can easily share with others, it makes learning fun, saves time for teachers and students, and most of all, helps bridge the gaps between the classroom and the wards.